Welcome to the Aesthetic Business Masters podcast, where we deep dive into the world of aesthetic medicine, business growth, and industry innovation. Whether you're a seasoned professional or just starting out, this is your go-to space for insights, expert interviews, and practical strategies to help you stay ahead in the ever-evolving aesthetic industry. I'm Nicole Montgomery, your host, and I'm here to bring you inspiring conversations, real success stories, and the latest trends shaping the future of aesthetics. So grab a coffee, sit back, and get ready to... Let's get started. Today I'm welcoming Dr. Hector Leal Silva, a dermatologist, researcher, and educator. Dr. Hector is at the forefront of laser and energy-based treatments. As director of iDerma Institute of Dermatology, Laser Mexico, he has trained medical professionals worldwide. His expertise extends to research roles with major medical aesthetic companies, including Luminous. Hello, Dr. Hector, and welcome to the Aesthetic Business Masters podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here, Nicole. I'm truly excited.
So I'm going to jump straight into our questions today. I know you've had an extensive career in dermatology and laser medicine. What initially led you to specialize in laser-based treatments?
Well, actually, it was by curiosity. I have always been very curious about new development and the things coming. And when I was doing my training in the US, I took a training in laser, in the dermatologic laser that was an ablative CO2 laser, the first one that came out. And actually, I took the first course that was provided in the US. When I was finishing my residency training, I took the first course. And so I finished my training, I came to Mexico, and then I received a call like a few months later from an ophthalmologist in my town. And when I talked with him, he wanted to be my partner for a new business. He had been very successful with the first ophthalmologic laser in Monterrey, Mexico, in my city. And he wanted to partner with me for the first dermatologic laser in Mexico, actually. And he says, I learned from the company that you are the only dermatologist with this course, with this training. And they don't sell you the device unless you have the training. I say, well, I have the training, but I had no idea I was the only one. So that was the story. We brought the first CO2 ablative laser to Mexico, and then nowadays we have more than 40 devices. We have almost everything there is in our specialty, and so it's more than 30 years now. And it's been quite an interesting journey with technology in the specialty.
How incredible. I assume you've worked with a huge range of energy-based devices and technologies in your career. How has laser technology evolved in dermatology and aesthetics since that first CO2?
Wow. First thing is that back in those days, 30 years ago, it was like you turn on the device and you start praying for everything to to come out well, because the first devices, the screen was just a screen and buttons. There was no software. There were no programs protecting you from making mistakes. Actually, I think the in the world, the first background to that lead later to create the parameters for safety treat patients with skin type 4 and 5. Those were the results of some of my burn patients or needle burn. So it was very hard because we had to find that niche between safety and efficacy, and it was very narrow. It was easy to exaggerate the treatment parameters, looking for better results, for a better outcome, always looking for the best for the patient, but the to stay safe and be completely effective was very hard back those days. Today is very easy. It's that the devices are it's wonderful to work with this new thing that you just press a button and everything is there for your assistance. And yes.
That's amazing. We're very spoiled nowadays, aren't we?
Yeah, it is.
And for those that are unfamiliar, can you provide a general overview of the Aerolase and its mechanism of action?
Well, actually, this is a device that called my attention, and at the beginning I said like, too good to be true. This is like they they claim it does many things and many difficult things in dermatology, and not only aesthetics but therapeutic dermatology, clinical dermatology, the and I say like I don't think so. This is too much. This is too good to be true. And but two very good and close friends of mine, Sunil Chilukuri in Houston and Michael Gold in Nashville, I called them both. And well, I called Michael because I was back there in Houston looking at the Aerolase working in Sunil's office in Houston. And I called Michael. I said, does this really work? And he says, yeah, absolutely. It's amazing. It's so small. It's so easy to use. It's so simple device, and it's incredible that it works for so many things. And yeah, it does. So like, okay, okay, I I believe you. And I started to using back there in Sunil's office, and tried with several things, different things with different patients, going from acne, rosacea, telangiectasias, telangiectatic veins in the face, in the legs, many applications, and it worked well in all of them. So it was amazing, and and then so I decided to acquire the device, and I said, well, I don't care if it really does well all this indication. If it works in the way it's stated to work for acne, that's it for me. That's so common and that's so difficult to treat, and that I say, well, that's it. And that was the main reason why I decided to get it, and and it really worked. So I've been very happy with that since it's 3.5, a little bit more, almost 4 years now, and we're thrilled with every time we discover more. I just started with acne back then. Then we waited. I I'm slow. I try to learn and process, and really I love to do one thing very good at its best. So I decided to learn how to use this device perfectly well in acne. And when we were having amazing results, then we incorporated rosacea like 3 4 months after. And then we started to treat every type of facial erythema, vascular lesions of any kinds, and so we were moving forward to treat this things, and so it really gave us that chance to incorporate periodically each indication, and until we dominated one, we decided to advance.
It's incredible and very exciting because so many conditions you just mentioned, like acne, it's so rewarding to see the the difference before and after and how life-changing that is for patients.
Yeah, the most interesting thing is that in the beginning, we started using the device as indicated, because it promotes a sebum production reduction, very significant, for 3 months or so. If you treat the hyper productive production area, but if we started to use it in a different way, because we started noticing that if we treat every active lesion in a punctual way, the clearance of those active lesions was very fast. Instead of the weeks that takes usually for the lesions to clear, it reduced to a few days, to 4 or 5 days. There was a very nice clearance of the lesions, and then and that so far was good enough. Again, but what we started to notice was that every time the lesions tend to take longer to reappear, like for the patient to have another outbreak of lesions. It was, instead of 2 weeks, it was 3 weeks, and then 4 weeks, and then 5 weeks, and every time less lesions. And in the photographs, by carefully following and trying to count the lesions, we started to notice that the same lesions, in the huge majority of the patients, the same lesions were not coming back. So and we even asked the patients, and it's always like this. And the patient says, no, the same lesions usually were coming back and coming back and coming back. I had them very well identified. Many patients said, like the one here or the other one here, they always come back. And since you did the treatment, though, I had other ones, smaller, fewer, but not the same one. That called my attention so much. And so we started to focus on that direction, what was happening. And so we saw that if we treated those active lesions aggressively by seeing an endpoint with a color change, and actually seeing which indicated an increase in temperature concentrated in the lesion, which probably tells that what we are doing is that we are promoting an internal scarring of the sebaceous gland, which in the majority of the cases, not in all, in the majority of the patients and of the lesions, it may cause a permanent or very long-lasting effect that lesion cannot reactivate. So this for me is huge. Actually, we are putting all together all the data that we have, which that's very, very interesting. Everything that we have collected in 3 years follow-up of these patients, and the results for these patients is outstanding. And the long-lasting clearance of the lesions after 5 to 7 treatments, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks apart, it's something we've never seen before. So we're thrilled with this.
That's phenomenal. And Aerolase is listed on the Australian Register of Therapeutic Goods, for several dermatological and aesthetic applications. Can you outline the conditions for which it can be used in Australia?
Well, as far as I know, I understand it's approved to treat, of course, acne, rosacea, psoriasis, acne scars, and scars in general for scar revision, and also in aesthetics for skin rejuvenation. So far, and varicose veins. telangiectasia and reticular veins, vascular lesions in general. I don't think I'm forgetting anything.
Goodness me, it sounds like you're talking about 40 different devices. It's unbelievable that you can do so many indications in one device.
Yeah, it's and I think the key for this and it's very simple. It sounds so simple that one says, well, why nobody had think about this before? Because this is the incredible combination mm, of the wavelength of 1064 neodymium YAG laser with the pulse duration, a precise pulse duration of 650 microseconds, which is a length that gives the quality to concentrate the heat or the energy in a way that it is related to the relaxation time of the tissues that makes it a unique vascular device that also has there's another indication that I forgot, epilation. It's a very effective to treat not only red pigment, hemosiderin or oxyhemoglobin, and the pigment, different pigments in the blood, but melanin. And because of the wavelength and the penetration, the deep this wavelength can go at low energies, relatively low energies. It penetrates deep in the dermis, which makes it a unique device to treat melanin in spread in the dermis, which rarely we have a device that actually breaks the pigment at that depth. They usually stay just for the surface. So there are other things that can be effective to treat epidermal pigmentation, either red or brown, but it's a unique composition or of the this device that can go at safe energy level, go deep enough to treat dermal conditions. So that's why the Aerolase Neo it's so unique in that capacity. And actually, I want to mention, because I don't have any concern about stating this, and this is not paid for me to talk about the device. I actually just state this because I'm very happy with this. So I don't know if it is correct to state that, but no, there's no fee involved in me by stating this about these devices. I just love them.
I think that's so important to say in this day and age, because there's so much distrust. There's this cash for comment system, and sometimes you see different doctors on 4 different stands over a conference weekend promoting 4 different devices, and it makes you think, oh my goodness, is this, that they've been paid and incentivized, or is this, legitimately congruent with, with the results and their clinic? So thank you for sharing that. I think that's really important. My next question is, the Neo Elite and Era Elite laser systems have distinct indications. How do practitioners determine the appropriate use for each?
Well, actually, in dermatology, yes, in every field in medicine, the most important thing that you need for to treat a patient safe and effectively is a diagnosis. To have the right diagnosis. So in dermatology, the almost everything divides in depth in the skin. So we have epidermal conditions or diseases, and dermal conditions or diseases. So the easiest way to see this is that ERA is epidermal, shallow, superficial, diseases because it can treat effectively actinic keratosis or benign superficial lesions or even neoformations like lentigos or things in the surface. And of course, texture, skin texture, wrinkles, open pore, epidermal pigmentation of any kind, epidermal melasma, many indications for the epidermis. While the neo uh, goes deep and it's completely pigment sensitive or pigment oriented laser. So in this regards, we treat dermal conditions, red pigmentation, brown pigmentation, but dermal. And so that's the easiest distinction that how you can see it. It also promotes collagen formation, the neo. So, but the dermal collagen and elastin formation because of the increase in temperature. So there's a remodeling process, but coming from deep dermis to the surface. So you can, in many situations, the best thing that you can do is combine both to have the best outcome that you can have, because you have the deep stimulation to repair the skin, and you have the remodeling from the surface. And for example, and since one is a goes for pigmentation, while the era in the surface goes for the water. And it's an erbium laser that it's attracted by the target is water in the tissue, but it's so controlled in the surface that you actually do not hurt or create any injury in the vascular system of the epidermis. So it leads that irrigation system completely intact. So it's very safe to treat both at the same time. And also you can use, for example, the ERA in combination with surgeries because there is no vascular compromise. So it those two devices, either alone or in combination, are very, very nice to use, and they promote epidermal and dermal very good results.
Fantastic. And Australia is a very multicultural society. Can you discuss different treatment considerations for different skin types and what practitioners should keep in mind?
Well, actually, one of the reasons why I am personally, as a dermatologist known in many places in the world, is because I created a scale that it's also something simple that nobody had seen it before as as the combination in the neo. But what I saw years ago was that, well, we were looking for the tendency of a patient to hyperpigment after an aggressive treatment, because we were having a lot of post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. We saw that the pigment in the palmar creases resembles completely the pigmentation in recent scars. We were looking for scars in the patients actually, to see which patients could develop post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. If a patient tends to hyperpigment in a recent scar, then there is a big chance that they have post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. So what we saw was that the pigment in the scars, in recent scars, resembles a lot the pigment in the palmar creases. So, and we develop a scale to check on that sign of hyperpigmented creases to predict more or less who could develop PIH in advance. So that it gave us the opportunity to adjust not only the aggressiveness of the parameters to treat a patient, but also the length or the separation in between treatments, which we found it was key. How often do you treat a patient with peelings, with lasers, with microneedling, with any treatment that causes inflammation? It may lead to the development of PAH. So what we saw is that in those patients with hyperpigmented creases, we could adjust the parameters and the separation between treatments to reduce completely the risk. We were able to reduce from about 18% in normal conditions to less than 3% by taking this into account. So I think the most important thing is you can incorporate this sign to the physical exploration of your patients previous to do any treatment, and also to look at all the signs, the color of the eyes, the skin in general, the previous reaction, previous scarrings, and of course the palmar creases pigmentation sign, and you'll be safe in treating any culture, any ethnicity, and you and your patients will be happy.
That's fantastic. Obviously, patient safety is paramount and a priority for yourself and other clinicians. And what can you tell us some of the best practices or protocols for using the Aerolase safely and effectively?
Yes. Well, actually, I forgot to mention that the information that I gave to you is published in the Journal of Cosmetic Dermatology. Yeah, it's on my name, Hector Leal, and it's the validation scale of the palmar creases pigmentation. The best way to treat patients safely is actually follow. It sounds also it's interesting. Aerolase has very good training and very good manual developed for each condition. So my best advice is at the beginning when you're actually creating your learning curve in approaching the patient, it's go by the book. It's follow exactly what it's weird because in many cases we're used to to rapidly change what the recommendation of the manufacturer of the device, and you'll have better results, and you'll still be safe, and that is correct with many devices, but not in the case of the Neo Aerolase. If you follow the book, you'll be safe. That's first, and then the other one is when you in doubt. Whenever you're in doubt, just do some test pulses and wait. Wait around 5 minutes and come back and see the endpoint. See there are signs, there are color changes, there are things that will tell you if you are in in safe and good treatment parameters. Usually, what we see is skin color change that the pigment tends to change a little bit to more gray, a little bit more brown, a little bit more grayish, a little bit more bluish, uh, and those slight color changes indicate that you're going to achieve a good result, and the patient is completely safe.
And a lot of patients expect something or want something to not be painful, to have a dramatic result, and to have no downtime. What can patients generally expect during and after their Aerolase treatment?
Well, actually, that's something that we like also is that it's like a very clean device to use. Talking about both, but particularly the Neo, for example, it doesn't require any gel. It's there's no contact, so it's a very hygienic procedure, to say it like that. So and it's very tolerable. Pain is it's some bothering, I can say, but no need for topical anesthesia. Not any numbing is required. So it's it's another advantage of this device that it's maybe for to treat another indication that I forgot, tattoos. When you're treating high concentrated tattoo removal with a lot of pigment in different layers of the skin, those are the only times when we have seen some discomfort that may require some numbing cream. But beyond that, everybody tolerates the treatment just as is. You just need a clean skin surface and perform the treatment. That's it.
Yeah, I don't know about Mexico, but here in Australia, everyone has a tattoo. It feels like you're the odd one out, like not having a tattoo. And I constantly tell my kids it's more expensive to have it removed and more painful. So just don't do it.
Yeah. I don't. Let's not go into that. Everyone has its own mind about tattoos.
Yes, yes, they're very popular here. So, is there anything that practitioners should know before incorporating Aerolase into their clinic?
It might be taking them too long to to be there. My recommendation is that do it. Well, it's a so versatile device that I think in my opinion in the future, and I hope not a long future, I think this will be in when I was in my residency training, you could not imagine a a dermatology office without cryo cryotherapy or electrocoagulation. That was it. And a mm, how do you call it? Mega glass. And then we have thermoscopes, and then IPL became like it's not conceivable an office without at least an IPL. And 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 I think this is one of the necessities in the future. An Aerolase would be just it's so versatile, so complete that I think it's a necessity in every dermatologic office.
That's fantastic. And I wanted to ask, in Australia, how accessible is training and education for Australian practitioners who want to use the Aerolase?
Well, actually, in the whole world, my experience is that the training from the company is very good. So they provide the training, and it's very complete, and it's very safe to start treating patients with following the training provided by the company. Of course, everybody is welcome in Mexico to have a training in our facility. And yeah, if you want to know more about LAs or any other device that we have or that it's in our knowledge, please visit us and complete your training.
That's very generous of you. And as technology advances, where do you see the role of laser-based treatments in dermatology anesthetics?
I think things are about to change dramatically with the incorporation of artificial intelligence in devices that, of course, will happen. We are seeing diagnostic devices with incorporated artificial intelligence, like comparing thousands and thousands of images from banks and letting you know of any probable malignancy of lesions and things like that. So if without AI in the devices, we were mentioning that they're so much easier and safer to use. I believe in the near future, we're going to see a huge transformation of the capacities of these devices. So I'm happy to be here now, and also very, very happy. My oldest son is starting his residency in dermatology. So so I'm thrilled because with him following the path, I won't have to stop investing in new technology and new devices, and I hope to be around for a long time, and I hope to see all this of these things that will come in the future, that I'm sure they'll be amazing very, very soon.
What an incredible legacy. That's so cool. It's funny when you go to a dermatology clinic and you see literally 40 plus devices, and obviously dermatologists love their toys, which is fantastic. But for a new dermatologist or clinician or practitioner who are setting up their clinic or still in the early stages of growing their business, and there's so many emerging trends and the marketing and lots of different options out there, what advice do you give them when choosing or selecting what laser or energy-based device to invest in?
Well, I think it's very different to be a good physician and be a good entrepreneur. so those are different skills. So it's hard to actually balance all that. But mm, my advice is that try to not see only the commercial part of this, because it's easy to get confused about all those numbers that they bring to you. I think there must be a balance in research. It must be a balance in academic purpose of what we do and how we invest. In my experience, in my humble opinion, it's there must be an academic purpose, an ethical purpose, a teaching purpose, and I think that's like a good base. And another thing that I use to avoid confusion in what to buy and what not to, which sounds different than what I think it's most common, is that it's not go directly to see the numbers. In my mind, to stay focused and ethical on it, I think I see a device, I look for clear scientific based evidence and research of that particular technology, no technology that copy something that was very well, that had good research. No, no, no. Did this company made their homework about doing the research, and then would I perform this procedure to myself, to my mother, my wife, or my sons? I get it. If the answer is no, I don't want it. I don't want. I see that like a just materialistic temptation of having something that you wouldn't do. Then why would I have it? If I wouldn't do it on myself, I don't want it. And then we check that it also has to be a versatile device. Also, we have to have the patience to treat that to use that device. And for example, I would like to share an experience that I have a time ago, that sometimes even a device may not give you more money, may not give you anything else but than what you have already. But if getting a new device can give you safety for your patients to do things in a safer ways, if a new device can give you time for you, if a new device can be delegable, that it is not you, the one who has to treat the patients, and the patient will be completely safe and have the exact same results that you could offer. Those are things that and another one is that there's a huge trap about consumables. There are things that in the beginning they sound okay. You say, well, this is but you sometimes we tend not to see how trapped we're going to be in consumables, in very expensive. So and it's really a trap, because no matter what, it's you or your patient who end up paying that over cost of the highly priced consumable of some devices out there. So many years ago, I for example, I bought the first device that was able to reduce fat deposits in a without surgery. And I checked the numbers, and they say like, "Oh, you're gonna make a lot with this device," and of course that didn't happen. But it didn't happen not because they were lying, because their numbers were right, but I was the dermatologist making more liposuction in my, at least in my area. And so we were transferring our liposuction, some of our liposuction patients, to that device. So the income was more or less the same, and the consumable was high, so we were actually making less. So those are considerations that you have to take in account. But when I was about to say like, no, let's forget about this. This was a very bad investment because we're actually making a little bit less. I realized that since I was not hours and hours every morning in the surgical room, I had, for the first time in my life, I had time to play golf and to be more time with my family. So I decided that was much more valuable than the little income we had lost. So I decided to keep my time and keep the device. I even bought another one. so so it's you have to see, there are many ways to see this, and of course learn, read and learn about entrepreneurship. It's not only knowing the technical things about a device or a few devices, the space, the time, the personnel to operate these devices. There are many things implicated. I know this is a complicated answer, but my best advice is check everything, and it will go well.
That's a fantastic advice. And if I'm sold, and if somebody listens to this or obviously saw your talks over the weekend at ASCD, how can they get in contact with someone from Aerolase to book a demo or learn more about the device and investing in an Aerolase for their clinic?
Well, I think Phil Woolman is the best person to contact, and I'm sure he will be thrilled to demonstrate the device, to follow up in everything they need and the training, and of course bring me back again to Australia next year. In person this time, and gladly can contribute in any way I can. But contact Phil, and he will be very happy to assist. And of course, myself, I can leave you my email, and please feel free to contact me for any doubt you have about Aerolase or anything in our specialty.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Yes, Phil from Beauty Technology is amazing, and I'm sure he would be absolutely over the moon to have you in Australia next year. The conference was fantastic and would have been even better if you were in person. So we definitely have to work on that.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate being here with you, and it's been I have enjoyed this a lot. It's been a great experience. I really appreciate. Thank you.
Interested in learning more about Aerolase? What are the next steps? Visit aerolase.com.au or beautytechnology.com.au. Thank you for tuning into Aesthetic Business Masters podcast, where strategy meets soul and passion fuels profit. If you loved today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, share it with your team, and leave us a review. Stay aligned, stay inspired, and keep building the business and life you truly love. Until next time, here's to being bold in business and brilliant in beauty.